Selamat pagi, Om Swastiastu. Good morning, everyone. And it's really exciting to be here today and moderating this exciting panel at the TravelByte Indonesia Hospitality Conference. First of all, I'd love to invite to on stage our fellow panelists. So if you want to, Mira and Matthew, if you want to join us. All right, well, welcome again. My name is Linda. I'm a former Dubai government official, and I am now leading Quantum Tempo, which is a travel tech startup driving regenerative travel, especially using new technologies such as blockchain. Today is really exciting to be here with all of you and sharing a little bit about online trends and opportunities within the Indonesian tourism sector, which is a vibrant industry which is having remarkable growth, especially in this region. The sector proudly supports 22 million workers and generates about $6.7 billion in foreign exchange, roughly contributing 3.6% to Indonesian GDP. And also, as of the latest number from the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of Indonesia, it seems last year an impressive also growth in terms of tourist arrivals with 5.8 million tourists and about 734 million domestic trips. So, and also within that context, it's really interesting to talk about digital economy and digital adoption, being Indonesia the largest digital economy of Southeast Asia, where currently the value of the digital economy is actually is represented at 82 billion, with a digital audience encompassing more than 200 million internet users and about 167 million of social media users as well. So within this context, it was going to be really interesting to hear from each one of you about the growth and the importance of online trends and digital adoption. So without any further ado, let me first introduce our fellow panelists today. So first on my left, Mira Marahendra is the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Hotels Raffles Jakarta. And then on the left again, we have Matthew Fall, who's the Executive Director and Senior Vice President for IT, E-commerce, and Distribution at the Swiss Bell Hotel International. And then finally, Ibu Yona Astuti, who's joining us today after a little travel this morning. So thank you so much for being with us. She's the Deputy of Digital Economy and Creative Products at the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy. Please give a big round of applause to our panelists. All right, so first thing first would be really interesting to hear from maybe each and one of you about what you're seeing, from a macro level in terms of like consumer behavior and digital adoption. So maybe why don't we start, ladies first, Mira. Would love to hear from your side, from Raffles, like what are you seeing in this space? What are the key things that we need to be aware of in 2024?
Okay, good morning, Linda. It's lovely to be here. Good morning to everyone that are attending our summit this morning. So we're talking about digital is very interesting because we're talking about like massive and big landscape. And sometimes we're also like, okay, which part that we need to go? So I'm here to share my experience from hotels specifically, our point of view on how is the digital is applicable to the property and the growth and everything and the customer, how do we use it and everything, right? So we're talking about digital again, like so many platforms, so many applications, so many ways, so many best practices to begin with, right? So again, for me, I think we have to look into our property, our brands, our demography, our guests, and then be able to choose which of that application or development will be suitable to our operations. And then looking at our guests, again, I'm talking from my personal point of view, like for Raffles, right? Okay, where is my demography? I need to ask first, if my guests are using that, okay? We're talking just like, okay, one simple thing is social media. We have so many platforms right now. Even Instagram, you have Threads. Now you have Flipper. What is Flipper? Like second account, third account, like how many accounts do we need to have, right? So, and then also from the guests, I need to relook, again, based on data, which one of this application is my guest using? which one are they really like useful for them and sustain their process when coming to the hotel, enjoy the hotel, or let's say like a booking process, right? And then in terms of like digital shift, I think we all know that we've been going through COVID, right? Where like everything offline, we have to put everything online. You know, as a marketing, like from marketing point of view, like, okay, everything offline, and then now we have to switch that to online. And then we are gather a different database again. People who don't really like our guests who are still in shock, I must say, quote, like, oh, how to do this? Like, do I need to have an account or everything? So we still face that as well, because like in terms of demography, like my guess is 40 up, right? Or I'm not gonna say age, like, you know, like still like not the Gen Y, Z generations to say. So they still need like, I'm not gonna say education, but they still need like familiarization on how to use that. So digital for hotel, again, specifically for luxury hotels, like their growth will not be like as massive, as rapid, probably under another sector in the industry. Because we need the time to be engaged with our guests, to inform them, to give them understanding that, okay, you need to be included or like involved in this cycle of information in order to do this and to do that. You know, we also need to explain like the way we do our service, probably not the same of what their expectation, but we need to be there. So I think the presence of us, people, the human behind that, still very important for us. I think that's the start of our talk. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mira. I'd love to hear from Matt as well. Like, what are you seeing from your perspective in terms of like key trends in consumer?
In terms of key trends from consumer perspective, I mean, I've got a good mix of business and leisure hotels, but only a couple in the luxury segment. I mean, for Indonesia itself, still massive growth in the use of mobile devices to do the bookings, do the research on the hotels and so forth like that. Haven't really seen, I mean, for certain leisure destinations, some VR photography and so forth is helpful. But honestly, what seems to be growing quickly is the use of AI, both for chatbots in its infancy. AI can do some stuff on the chat-wise, but it's Indonesia, so somebody on a WhatsApp chat window takes over. That said, in terms of the marketing channels, Instagram, obviously, TikTok has been huge for Indonesia. I think Indonesia is now the largest TikTok nation in the world at the moment. Massive amounts of marketing there. Communication-wise, it's Indonesia, so it's always WhatsApp. That said, in the younger generation, I think I'm going to have to start doing an SOP for Snapchat soon. But yeah, I mean, those are the trends we're seeing from the consumer marketing perspective. Distribution-wise, everything is moving to, well, a large proportion is moving to dynamic distribution with the partners, which gives more power to the hotels to manage the rates and the distribution. That said, sometimes for some of the agents presenting packages, it's a little bit harder for them. But it does give you massive reach across the world that way. So those are the sorts of trends we're seeing. Massive growth in the dynamic distribution as well for Indonesia.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that insight. I think we're going to go back to the distribution and marketing question very soon. But since you touched on new technology and you already mentioned AI, I would love to hear from Ibu Yuana in terms of like the technology influence on consumer expectations, and especially talking about how this new technology potentially, we all heard about AI is the hot topic, has been the hot topic for the year and certainly continues to be for 24, but also like virtual reality. We talked about mobile, social media. Ibu Yuana, do you want to share a little bit about how you're seeing the technology influence on consumer?
Okay, thank you, Linda. As I come from government side, maybe I will talk to about the government policy. Yeah. As you know, after the COVID era, the digital transformation run very rapidly, and also need every ministry to very agile, because in that era everything is changing. Yeah, Ministry of Tourism is the biggest ministry have the impact, because everything is slowed down and almost the tourism is not any effective at all. So that's why our ministry have to be agile to adopt very wisely. And for the using of the technology, we have the trend also about the consumer behavior. We notice that right now the consumer of the tourists hyper local. Now the consumer behavior, the reflect of tourism trend into 2024 is more hyper local. And this means that traveler will prefer to stay longer in the place and immerse themselves in the local culture and more personalized and also socializing in via learning. And also for the consumer behavior, now we have to adopt also the technology as the government and the Ministry of Tourism also have using the AI and blockchain to boost the tourism. We have experience with company Quantum Temple. Fortunately, we have collaboration with Quantum Temple last year in regenerative tourism in Bali to use blockchain to aware more tourists about the sustainable tourism. It means they will use NFT to collect the coin, and also the tourists will more aware about the surrounding, because we also expand about the carbon footprint calculator in Ministry of Tourism. So this kind of a policy of sustainable tourism in Ministry of Tourism. Okay.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Ibu Yuan. And I think it's an important point, especially how, of course, COVID put a global halt and definitely had a dramatic impact on the hospitality sector, tourism as a whole, but in a way also offered the opportunity to fast track the adoption and the integration of new technologies. So I think along that line of the intersection between the rise of consumer awakening, conscious consumerism, even within the travel and tourism sector, especially as a result of COVID, I'd love to hear maybe again from Mira and hear a little bit about how you guys are thinking about either responding to the demand of sustainability for the hotel or your advocacy to educate the traveler on sustainability.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I think we discussed this earlier as well. So if we're talking about sustainability, it's always, for me personally, it's a tricky topic, right? Very tricky because, yes, we would like to support them entirely doing the initiative that sustain, not just doing one-time initiative just for the sake of it, right? And we call ourselves okay, we're doing sustainability. But actually, what is that? And how do we apply that within our operations? I think that is also major thing that we as people that are working in the industry also need to do. I mean, it takes all of us to participate, from the hotel itself all the way to the guests, right? Okay, I think, I'm not going to say this is challenges or not possible, but sometimes for us in the hotel, when we try the movement, we need to understand or give understanding that our guests also understand what we do, if it makes sense, right? Because how the sustainability will be impact to our operation, of course it will be impacting. We're just talking about initiative plastic, carbon footprints, something like that. So it will also impacting when we changing some of our services or some of our amenities, some of our tools, and that there will be reactions towards it. This is just for me talking about specific things that are related to hotel operations. So when we change that, of course, that will be reactions. And then we have to be able to tackle that in the way okay, we're doing this initiative because of this. And if we're all together coming and doing this initiative, the result will be this, I mean, for me, it doesn't have to be something that major thing. We can always start from small thing, but something that tangible. So I think it's very important to also give that transparency to our guests that we're doing this, we need your support in a way, but then you will see the result. It's tangible. If we're doing this together, we can achieve the goals. So in terms of sustainability, of course, from hotel, we have to choose wisely something that impacting with our operation as well, and something that can convey and sit nicely with our guests. Of course, in the way we will always communicating with our guests, like, hey, when you're doing this or when you stay with us, you're also supporting this initiative, you know. And then from there, of course, it's never a one-way thing. We also listening to their feedback. They were like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this, or like, is there any way like we can replace it? So there's always like feedback on that topic from our guests. For guests that already understand, there will be like, oh, wonderful. You already organizing this or you're already applying this into your operations. Of course, I will support. But what about those who don't? So then again, back sustainability, digital and everything. Digital is also a good platform for them to advocating that, you know, making it like digital and all of its platform give us the opportunity to showcasing the initiative and circulating to our audience and our guests specifically, and then from there, they have a material or platform to go to, like, oh, the reason why the hotel is doing this, because of this. Something that they can go through, something that can get, like, more details and information as well. So, I mean, for me, that really specific thing on the sustainability, but for hotel, for us, for the brand, it will be something that we would like to sustain, and we're doing it continuously, because I think this is so all about, you know, we don't need, like, one initiative every 3 months or something like that, but we need like one that we really entirely focus and there's a result toward it. And also the participation of our guests is also very important as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Matt, I would love to hear from your side. Are you also seeing, from your perspective, are you seeing more of a demand for the consumer for sustainability on the hospitality, or is it more reverse, like hospitality having a role in educating consumer on sustainability?
It absolutely has to be both. The educating of the consumer is what helps to drive the demand for sustainability. There's obviously limited education out there. I mean, what you have here with the reusable glass bottles, clearly a sustainability program. Some hotels will implement it this way. Some hotels will implement it with water jugs in the room. There's a bunch of ways of implementing it. But you also have to educate the consumer that the water from these bottles is just as good as the water you got from your plastic bottles. Some will feel that maybe this might be more unclean, but making them understand the process you go through to ensure that this water is the same or better, and educating the consumer that way so that they feel good about the experience. Those aspects have to be dealt with. And sustainability is not just about this sort of thing, but if your hotel can find a way to save 30% on electricity, it's a cost savings, but also it's a sustainability direction as well. Because we all know that in Indonesia, probably 60% of the power is generated by coal. And they're improving this, and they're making steps to improve that, but any electricity you save saves the amount of coal you burn in the air. So it's a hand-in-hand thing, and it also depends on the segment. People that are going to an eco-village obviously probably care more about sustainability than somebody that's going for an overnight business trip. So it's setting up the hotel to educate on that, but also delivering the right experience for the right type of hotel.
Yeah, that's amazing. Maybe as a follow-up question, like, can you give us maybe more specific examples about how do you go about that education, like practically? Like, what are the things that are most successful?
In terms of education, it would be through our social media channels as to the various programs we might do in certain hotels or certain regions. Like our Maua hotel over in Nusa Penida has sustainability programs. If you're actually looking at the destination website, it explains things, how it does things like grey water reprocessing, uses sustainable materials both for the building and for what is actually used at the hotel and things like that, and how they work with the local community. So we focus on that for certain hotels. Other hotels, depending on the location, it's hard to implement some of those things. And it's also something that has to happen over time. Some hotels are built to be more sustainable. Some hotels in the past, you need to make a reasonable amount of investment to change how they operate to be more sustainable. And if that's going to drive extra traffic and guests, that will. And some other places, it's just going to cost a bit more. And as responsible hoteliers, we do try to drive through those sustainability changes. But sometimes it's a little bit hard.
Yeah, sure, Mira, please.
Yeah, I do have some comment. It's interesting you say that. I think for the latest or newly built hotel, I think they have some advantage because they can planning properly, right? I mean, we're talking about like the glass bottles right now, or like the tap water in our rooms, right? But what about hotel? They already like, I don't know, my hotel is going to be 9 years or so, 9 years this year. So we're like, okay, we need to find a way or like a new additions to apply or to adopt that into the hotel operations, right? Okay, one of the initiatives that we did last time is something with the linen. So recycle, you know, like fashion waste is also something, like the fast fashion is also like, is really contribute to the waste, right? The wastage and everything. So we're looking at our linen and upholding to our standards, we need to change our linen every like, cycle it every few other months, right? After like how many washes and everything, all of that. So we're sitting like looking at the linen, okay, what can we do with it? You know, so instead of like saying it like recycle, we comes with the terms like upcycling. You know, because sometimes it's come back to your sentiment like, oh, I'm using something recycled, or I'm using something second products or something like. Sometimes it's that, but back again to the educations, like when we are allowed or like able to educate, like, hey, something the second cycle of life or things is also not bad, you know. So we also talking like we work with the different partners at that time. So we're looking at a way because we have like few hundreds kg of linens that we need, like, okay, what to do with it? And it's still in a good quality, right? So it was like very successful at that time because we saw that the interest level is there. Once they see like the linen, at first we don't say, you know, it's become like button-up shirts and everything, like nicely worked together with like the ibu-ibu from the Rusun. So it's like more into like the women empowerment as well during that time. So we didn't say it's actually come from your bed sheets, you know. So we showcase, you know, as we showcasing, we put like nice ribbon, ties, box, and everything. We put it out there, and in the end, when we try, like, okay, this is actually from our linens, and they're like, oh, okay, and they're actually wearing it. So I think in a way, like when you want to also educating in like presenting the sustainability, you have to find a way to making it interesting. You know, you have to draw people interest and like, oh, I didn't think that linen can be like that. And they touch it like, oh, it's also nice quality. And it's good. And in a way, you give like a good feeling thing, right? Like, oh, when I purchase this or something, this means I'm helping this particular foundation or something. So it's kind of like giving back. So for us, I think that type of practices that works well as well for the hotel, and it's something tangible. We'll have to recycle our linen again through the 6 months. So I think that's something that we can sustain in doing as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's an amazing example also about creative economy, I think, and also how we can use new engagement for empowerment, but also like consumer education. I'd love to hear from Ibu Yohana if you have any other examples that maybe are very similar that to the one that Mira just mentioned as well.
Yeah. Actually, in terms of policy, first, I want to talk about policy. Actually, right now, Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy have collaboration with the UNDP to implement piloting project 10 hotel in Bali area to implement about low carbon development. So now it's still ongoing. I think in Indonesia it's still very challenging, to implement about the awareness using low carbon and very sustainable things. But in Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy itself now have many programs to push. We call it creative economy people or industry to implement a low carbon development. Right now also after the UN have adopt the economic creative resolution, UNDESA also give a grant to implement all the things with related about sustainable and for the vulnerable targeted people like disabled, women, and also young, and kooperasi maybe we can call it. So the enthusiasm of the creative economy sector is very high, Linda. Last time when we announced the proposal, in just one day we received many creative economy sector to also want to take a part of sustainable tourism and creative economy. So I think still challenging, but I think I feel very confident we will can get the target with the help from the hospitality industry, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd love to hear what you would love to see even more from like hospitality. Is there any particular maybe insight that you'd like to share for hospitality about how they can drive sustainability adoption for consumers?
Yeah. I think maybe from like actually we already talked with many like we call it like application can adopt about the maybe like green what we call for sun greenhouse, but our minister said that to implement all the hotel to use greenhouse selling still need to some kind of incentive. But I think now in Ministry of Tourism making the roadmap for sustainable tourism, maybe we can work together to achieve that because the team is different area with our division. Maybe I will look for what is its article to implement it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ibu. Maybe would love to move on to discussing a little bit about strategies for digital growth. And I'd love to also hear, I think we started talking also about the intergenerational trend that is happening right now, and how, especially I think for Raffles specifically, being a heritage brand and also targeting, maybe still an older demographic, but then now also traveling and engaging with their younger audience. How do we tackle that?
Okay, again, specifically from Raffles as a brand itself, right? With many of the, I'm just going to be like being specific in social media, right? At least. For us, of course, I would love to adopt like the trendy platforms. Like sometimes I saw like some other hotels are launching this and that. Of course, I want to take a part of it. But then I also need to be like wise and look back and say, okay, did my guests do that? Or like, did my guests will be able to engage? Because some other content that will be like launched by different hotel, they look amazing, and the engagement is high. But when sometimes we want to adopt the best practices, it will not work for us because our demography like acting differently, responding differently on that. That's why at the moment the hotel is only engaging on Instagram. The first account only, no thread, no flippers, no nothing, it's only the first account. So we, Twitter previously, not really, not responding as well on that. Definitely not TikTok. I must say, definitely not TikTok. But of course, like for Raffles, we know, let's say their grandparents, we know their parents. Okay, how to get into their son and daughter now? Just let's say wedding, right? For wedding, okay, my grandparents have a wedding ceremony or like reception at Raffles and everything. Now comes to the son, they have like a lot more choices. Social media will also helping them to consider it where they want to organize their event. There's so many showcase on that. One very nice fancy reels from another 5-star hotels, and then from this hotel and this hotel. So of course, it's important. But then again, I have to go back to my brand perspective, my brand personality. Where can I allocate that? Right. So I actually did a little a note on that one. Since I have to work on my presentation as well, right? So the first is like social network. It's on the decline. A communities rising. For me, I think that's a kind of statement like, okay, why is it decline? There's so many social networks right now. But then again, now we notice that we work in community, right? Okay, so I probably like WhatsApp group, and then like a close circle of friends, and then our Instagram, we have our close circles and everything. So we actually work within community. We are taking considerations from our close community as well. Yes, the digital, the AI presentations and a platform is there, but we took that in and then we're discussing with our community, right? So the decline in that point is like, it's no longer for hotels specifically. It's no longer like the main point for us to make our decisions, but we will gather back with our community and say, okay, which will be the best way, right, to do it? And then influencers out, co-creation in. Okay, during pandemics, COVID, like there's so many influencers, like I receive many influencer email on a daily basis and say, but then again, back again, what is the objective? And I'm kind of really picky on that one. So sometimes it's not about like the number of your followers, but like your engagement, like your co-creation. How do you understand the brand that you currently represent? You know, you may have like 100,000 followers and everything, but like how do your engagement sounds? Or your demographic will be able, quote, to say, purchase my product, purchase my service. And then when we do co-creation, it means we are collaborating in terms of like their platform and our platforms and be able to give birth to something that will work with both ways. So it's no longer for us, it's no longer like straightforward, oh, influencers, 100,000 followers, and that's it, we'll be there and then we're good. We're actually looking more than that. So it's co-creations coming in. And then good news, bad news for brand loyalty. So consumer aligned, of course, we want to gather like a big number database adding into our loyalty. But still, the emotional connection, it's still crucial. You know, I think you have big, massive number in terms of database and loyalty. Like, are we making sure, are they taken care of? You know, are we aiming just loyalty? We have 100,000 database of loyalty, but like, do we really taking care of them? Right? It's more today. And then data. I think most importantly of everything, of all the initiative, I think I will always go back to the data and then evaluate for there whether it's working or no, and which are the best practices that we can adopt. I think that promotes the strategy that we're applying right now. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting to hear. Maybe briefly, Matt, do you want to add to that? And here, I would love to hear from your perspective also.
I mean, as Mira mentioned, the way you market to people. Obviously, the couple is watching the reels on TikTok, but then you've got the parents and the grandparents that are looking at it on Facebook and so forth, and they're the ones paying for it. So, so you have to cater to both audiences when you're doing that sort of thing for wedding events, sweet 16s, etc., and so forth. But yeah, I mean, the expansion of digital, I mean, all of the hotel chains are pushing their loyalty programs a lot harder these days. But as Mira mentioned, it's not just a database, it's how you can better personalize the service to those guests. It's when they show up to the hotel, they don't have to fill in a piece of paper. All of the details are already in the system. They just do an electronic signature or fill in a pre-filled in form. Just minimizing friction, making things faster, giving people a better experience with those systems, not just having a larger database to market to and spam to, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you for that. And maybe last question for Ibu Ioana. I know you have a really exciting initiative coming up, and I think Mira also talked about the role of community and also engaging the younger audiences. Do you want to share a little bit about what's happening in March?
Yeah. Actually, everybody here, I want to announce also, as you know, that Indonesia government already have collaboration with the Pokemon, with the Pokemon Adventure. Actually, last year, yeah, we have already signed with Garuda Indonesia, Ministry of Tourism and Pokemon to boost our tourism. Actually, the there are many minor voices about the using international IP instead of the local IP, but the main goal is how to attract the tourism from foreign to come to Indonesia, and also to move the tourists around in region in Indonesia to go to the event, which is will be around 4 event in Indonesia, which is the first one in Bali, and at 2 and 3 March in Bali will be event Pokemon Air Adventure, and then in Surabaya and Jogja, and also the last in Jakarta. So this is part of our innovation to push the tourism sector because in 2023 actually the target of domestic movement is not achieving, but for international movement is beyond the target. But we hope that with our collaboration with many international IP and also the international event, the tourism target will be achieved. Thank you
so much, Ibu Ioana. Do we have time for one question? Okay, great. Well, actually, Toby just asked if anybody has developed a metaverse-based tour of your hotels or facilities. Matt or Mira or Ibu Ioana, who wants to take the question?
I think when we're talking about metaverse tour, I will say this in 2 sections, right? There's a tour that actually potential guests or client that will visit the hotel physically, and then we will go through each of the area, whether it's room or ballroom or something, and then have a discussions about that. But we're talking about metaverse virtual or anything. Of course, we will have material for that. When we're traveling, when we're attending trade show and meeting overseas or something, that where the material is coming handy. So it's not our main, but we have something to tackle different requests that we use, because sometimes some particular guests or audience would like to come physically and meet and to see it directly as well.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely. Anyone else wants to just quickly add?
Metaverse, no, we've done a few. For some of our locations, we've done Matterport models so that you can sort of explore the internals of the location and the views and so forth. I've been generally a bit disappointed by the uptake of virtual reality usage. It'd be interesting to see if the new Apple devices make it more mainstream or not, but
hopefully.
Right now those prices are stupidly high.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Ibu Ioana, any final remarks?
What was it?
The question was about the rise of metaverse tourism in a way, and obviously from a hospitality standpoint.
Tourism.
Metaverse tourism, yes.
Oh, metaverse tourism. Actually, now in Indonesia, becoming more aware about metaverse. Yeah, I think it's very big opportunity to promote tourism in metaverse. So I think with the collaboration with many stakeholders, I think tourism in Indonesia will be more interesting. I think, yeah, because actually many destinations in Indonesia have many attractive. So I think we have many huge potential to boost.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
year.
To give more visibility to maybe places that have less access. Right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, thank you so much. I think time is up. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today, and of course for the panelists to share this really insightful conversation. So let's give a big round of applause to everybody. Thank you so much.